Would it make somebody a jerk for hiding their inheritance from their adopted siblings? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for refusing to lend my cousin money to cover the rent on a house she insisted on renting even though I told her she couldn't afford it? My 29-year-old male cousin, 26-year-old female, is currently in financial trouble because she moved into a house that is way out of her budget. She has no steady job, relies on odd jobs here and there, and has a terrible spending habit like she buys $6 lattes every day and eats out constantly. I warned her before she signed the lease that this place was too expensive, but she insisted she deserved a nice place. Fast forward 3 months, she can't pay the rent. She's now asking me, who has my own bills, student loans, and rent to cover, for money just until she gets back on her feet. I said no. I told her I love her, but I warned her from the start that this house was too expensive and I can't be her safety net every time she makes a bad decision. She flipped out and called me a fake cousin, a snob, and said I was letting her become homeless. Now her mom is calling me saying I'm heartless and family should help each other. I feel like I'm being emotionally blackmailed for her financial irresponsibility. Am I the jerk for refusing to cover the rent on a house I warned her she couldn't afford? I would love to know how OP could be the jerk. In what way should OP feel obligated at all to bail out their cousin on their house payment that OP warned they couldn't afford going into it? Posit Matt commented on the post writing, "Not the jerk at all, her mom should cover it. Apparently that side of the family has a bit of an entitlement issue, deserved a nice place. Unfortunately in life, most of us have to work hard as freak to be able to achieve our goals, and as you noted, you have your expenses. I would communicate clearly with your aunt and cousin that unfortunately, you're not financially able to make financial assistance at this time, and just an FYI, I wouldn't share with anyone your income or financials, or they may start turning to you for help exclusively." Joseph Bottom commented, "If her mom really thinks family should help, then that's where the help should come from. You're not obligated to sacrifice your own financial well-being because someone else insisted on living above their means. You've been more than fair by being upfront." Her response shows entitlement, not need. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to wear body makeup for my friend's wedding? My friend has just gotten engaged and has asked me to be her maid of honor. I am beyond thrilled for her and beyond touched she's asked me, but it's on the condition I wear body makeup over my psoriasis. I can't do that. Not only is it impractical, any makeup that will actually cover it will exacerbate the condition and make life miserable for me. To be clear, I have it well controlled. I'm not flaky, the skin is simply very red. It covers 80% of one forearm, 20% of the other, both elbows, and I have large patches on my calves, knees, and 90% on the top of one foot. I use gentle manual exfoliation and a moisturizer that helps control the dry and excess skin. I apply the moisturizer a couple of times a day and wouldn't be able to do this while wearing makeup. I let her know I wouldn't be able to do that, explained why, even though she knows I have to be careful with all the products I use, and she's quite unhappy with me. She wants beautiful photographs that makes everyone feel beautiful and confident, which really upset me. I am content and confident in my skin. I know it's there, and people stare sometimes, but what can I do about that? Most people think I've had some kind of gnarly motorbike accident or something, to be honest. I'm at a point in my life where I honestly don't care and often forget it's unusual to see. I know the reason is because she doesn't want to see it in her photos. I said as much to her and she was offended. I suggested that I wear something with long sleeves and a skirt, but she already has her heart set on mid-length strapless dresses and a shawl covering won't go. It got to the point where she was getting heated because I won't do it and told me I either wore the body makeup or don't even bother coming. I ended up telling her either she has me as is or not at all and left. She's now not speaking to me but has told her fiance that I accepted the role? Am I the jerk? Should I just suck it up, wear the body makeup, and deal with it? I love my friend and I would hate to miss her wedding, but wearing the body makeup would just make the night so miserable and cause so much irritation and possibly pain if it gets so bad my skin splits again. It's just such a shallow thing to hear. The person that you deem so important to you in your life to make them the maid of honor has a skin condition, and it's well known and it's not like it's a new thing. and you would rather risk them covering up and risk them having their skin split than just embracing them how they are and how they've probably been for a long time? Not much of a real friend in my book, and I don't think OP's the jerk. Princess Shira commented, "She said this to you. She wants beautiful photographs that makes everyone feel beautiful and confident, which really upset me. I am so upset on your behalf. This is your body, your skin. It's not that you chose to have this condition or have any control over it beyond the care you're taking, and even if someone has chosen to get tattoos, that still wouldn't have made what she said okay." Wow, she's not a friend. I don't know if this is a temporary lapse of bridezilla-ness or if this is who she is. Not the jerk. Moonvixen commented, "She's clearly the kind of woman who only understands beautiful and confident as within her own definition of what she thinks makes her feel beautiful and confident, and assumes everyone else has to feel the same way, as if there is a single objective answer to that. Either that or she's intentionally lying, knowing dang well this wouldn't make OP feel anything but absolutely miserable, and is using a phrase like that to guilt OP into giving her what she wants. Absolutely no one has the right to demand you wear a dang thing. I'm never a makeup girly personally. My ideal wedding would be 100% makeup free, but I know better than to even pretend that I have any right to demand that of my guests. We can all agree only I get to wear white, but beyond that, freak no. Not even my bridesmaids. Their body, their choice. And if anyone had told me I had to wear makeup or something, regardless of where or why, I would simply not go and likely never speak to them again. It's not anyone's place to dictate what you do with your body or tell you what makes you feel confident. Like, the skin condition is entirely irrelevant. She's already wrong. It just makes her demands even more offensive. A wedding is not a summons, and neither is being part of the wedding party. It's not jury duty. You're under no obligation to go or participate just because someone asked you to be, no matter who they are or how close you are to that person. If she cannot accept and love you as you are, she is not worthy of your time and attention. Our next story is, am I the jerk for declining to be a groomsman in one of my best friend's weddings? One of my 26-year-old male best friends is getting married. I've known this friend for 15 plus years. Growing up, me and 5 other guys were super close. We all grew up in the same neighborhood and played the same sport in high school. The friend in question asked the 6 of us to be groomsmen in his wedding. The 5 other guys said yes. I said no. I don't really have a concrete reason for saying no. I just don't really need the hassle and I'm rather introverted. I'd rather use my PTO to go vacation somewhere quiet rather than have to go to all the extra events associated with the wedding. To be clear, I obviously planned on attending the wedding and after party themselves. Apparently, my declining to join the wedding party caused bigger issues than I could have imagined. The wife-to-be asked 6 bridesmaids and apparently is irritated that there won't be the same number of groomsmen. And my friend had taken it as a personal slight. I've gotten texts and calls from a few of my friends and the maid of honor asking to reconsider, and the friend whose wedding it is got so angry after I declined a second time that he said I shouldn't bother coming at all. I really don't think this is as big of a deal as people are making it out to be, but my friend and his fiance are acting like I objected to the marriage itself. Am I the jerk? I feel like maybe there's some room for OP to explain a little bit more of why they turned it down. Like, if this is a destination wedding that they have to take PTO time off for to go to and deal with, I start getting a little bit more understanding of why OP may turn it down. But to be honest, I think I am leaning towards OP is the jerk because I don't think it's really that much more responsibility to be a groomsman when it clearly means so much to the groom and the other 4 friends and even the bride too, when OP said that they're going to attend the wedding regardless. Like, even if there were special events like a bachelor's party or whatever, OP doesn't even necessarily have to go to that, just at least be a part of the wedding and be a part of the groomsmen. Like, from the sounds of it, I'm willing to bet the bride and groom would be more than happy to accommodate that just to have the 6 and 6. One association, 8094, commented, being a groomsman literally requires being in the wedding and going to the reception. You could have easily agreed to that and let your friend know that you don't have the time off, or funds to support any extracurriculars outside of the wedding day, but are excited to stand by him on his big day and appreciated him asking you. Wedding parties are not obligated to go to all the extra events, and normal people would understand that. If your friend laid out ground rules and said you must be at X, Y, and Z events, then that's a different story. You could have easily had a discussion about what you could and could not commit to for his wedding. You're the jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not stopping my teenage son's girlfriend from kissing him? My 50 son, 17, recently got into a car accident with a drunk driver. I am very thankful that he's alive, obviously, but his car is totaled. The drunk driver was driving a pickup and my son drives a small old convertible, most likely the reason for the amount of damage, and he's fairly injured, i.e. multiple breaks, lots of stitches, etc., and is currently recovering. This all occurred last week on Saturday, the night of the accident. My family, my wife 45 and daughter 14, got there I want to say an hour before his girlfriend. When she came in, she ran to him in his hospital bed and started hugging him and kissing him, mainly lips, but other places on his face too. She stayed for most of the night, checking up on him and being supportive, and I was happy that my son and his girlfriend had such a good relationship. As we were driving home that night, my wife said that she was upset I didn't say anything to my son's girlfriend. I asked why I would have, as she was being a good partner. My wife said that it felt weird seeing that, especially in front of his family. I said that he was going off to college regardless and that she was being a really nice partner, and that night showed us how much she truly cared for him. She rushed off of work to get there and was still wearing her work clothes as she got there. My wife started getting angrier and said that she thought it was gross and that I should just ask her to leave sometime. I told her that I'm not telling my hospitalized son that I'm taking away something that clearly makes him happy. She told me it was gross and that I needed to put a stop to it. I told her she was worrying about the wrong thing and that anything that brought our son comfort was good. My brother had taken my daughter home before this. She didn't hear us arguing. She told me I needed to step up and do my job, and I've been thinking about it. And I have started to keep thinking about it and thinking that I am in the wrong. So I don't think OP did anything wrong here. I think the girlfriend showed, like OP said, they truly cared. What she did was a very understandable reaction to seeing somebody that could have very well have not been there anymore. Like, I understand people have varying levels of comfort as far as PDA goes. In my opinion, in regards to a 17-year-old who just had a life and death situation, I don't think that's crossing any lines. If it bothers you, look away for the 5 minutes and leave your son's hospital bed. Just the Bean commented, not the jerk. Your wife needs to accept that your son is growing up. A 5-year-old says kissing is gross, not a 45-year-old with multiple children. What kind of argument is that? Besides, kissing is not inappropriate at 17 years old, and she was relieved to see him after a scary accident. It's not like they spend their free time making out in front of you. Our next story is, am I the jerk because my aunt ate my dog's food accidentally and she claims I let her? Disclaimer, there was no medical concern at any time. It was all edible and fine. I'm a 25-year-old, female, and own a little house where I live with my 1-year-old medium to big dog. Backstory, my kitchen is structured in a way that there's an area dedicated to my dog's things. Dog food storage, bowls, food toppers, spoons for him, wet food, supplements, dedicated sponges to clean his bowls, basically everything that has to do with his nutrition. Among these things, I have a shelf that contains food toppers, which I sometimes add to his food to make it more palatable. These are different flavors, sirloin, mussel, other kinds of fish, lamb, chicken, and they're in powder form and contain a little wooden spoon inside each jar. They're labeled, and in the label it says what it is and what it's intended for, but there's no dog on the label that would make it super obvious at first glance that it's a dog item. That's just how the brand labels products. On to the gist, my aunt, 60-year-old female, came to visit today as she needed me to do a few things for her. New phone, so she needed help setting it up. When she arrived, I saw I needed something longish to be able to open the compartment that would let me add the SIM card in. I told her to wait and I went to look for one. Apparently, she felt thirsty, so she went to the kitchen for water and to snoop a bit, it seems. Harmless. Well, when I came back, I saw she was in the kitchen holding one of my dog's jars. I didn't think much of it, thought she was reading it because she has a dog too and she might be interested. Next thing I hear is her asking, what do I use that powder for, and that it tastes quite nice. I immediately gasped and let her know that I use that for my dog. It's dog food. She freaked out, understandably. I assured her that while it's used for dogs, it is completely fine and safe for humans, and that nothing's gonna happen to her at all. I apologized for the fact that she had eaten that in my house, and she started blaming me for leaving the food toppers there in a rack over my dog's food corner over his bowls. I told her it wasn't fair and that while she's welcome to anything in my house and can eat whatever she wants, she should have asked about it given where it was and what it was surrounded with. She's now gone to my mom, other aunts, cousins, and everyone who will listen to tell them how I let her eat a spoonful of dog powder food thing. I've gotten mixed responses from haha, poor aunt, to full-on laughing, to oh no, that's awful, you're a jerk. What do you think, Reddit? Should I start storing the toppers behind closed cabinets? Although she opens cabinets whenever she wants to. Label them with dog food just in case. Or move on and think about it as a funny little incident. I don't think I'm the jerk per se, but at the end of the day, she did eat dog food on my watch, so I don't know. Thanks. Maybe I'm the weird one here or something, but I don't understand people who go to another person's house, even if it's family, and then just start sampling something that they see sitting out. I guess in OP's case, they said they more or less already established that anything at my place, help yourself to. But then that brings us to the point that it was in the dog section, the dog corner, it was above the dog food. I'm certainly not going to be the person who picks up a can or a container right above Fido's food bowl and go, maybe I should sample this. Not that girl commented, did she just put the spoon back in there? Asking for your dog. Not the jerk who goes snooping and takes a spoonful of some powdered food no matter what it is or who it's for. Silly lady, I keep all my cat stuff together too. OP responded commenting, oh, that's a great question. I never thought about it in the heat of the moment with her freaking out and asking for a spare toothbrush, but I assume she did. I don't think I'll replace the spoon thingy though. My dog puts way worse things in his mouth, and when the jar is finished and I open a new one, there'll be a new spoon. Our next story is, am I the jerk for eating ice cream every night just like I always do and not stopping just because my sister-in-law doesn't want my niece to see it? Most nights after dinner, I eat a small ice cream cone. It's literally the little Joy mini cups with a teeny scoop of ice cream. Maybe a big scoop if I'm having a rough day, but that's kinda rare. I don't drink alcohol or smoke weed or do anything fun, so this is my one fun thing I do for myself. My brother and his wife and daughter are staying with me for a few weeks. They'll be gone by June 15th. I'm happy to have them here. Usually we'll eat dinner together and go our separate ways for the evening. They watch a lot of TV, so they're usually all in the living room watching. I've been eating my lil cone, but my sister-in-law approached me and asked if I could stop. She said that my niece is starting to ask why she doesn't get to have ice cream, and that obviously she was lied to by my sister-in-law when she told her ice cream is a sometimes food. I said that I wasn't going to stop, but I could wait until she was in bed. I figured that was a good compromise, and I do get that she's trying to raise her little girl to have a healthy relationship with food. But waiting until she was in bed didn't work because she came into the kitchen multiple times to ask me for some. My sister-in-law was definitely a little incredulous over it and kept saying, "Really? Do you seriously need to eat ice cream every single day?" Or stuff like it. I said no, but she also doesn't need to drink a glass of wine every day either. She didn't like this and sighed a bunch and has been visibly annoyed with me since then. My brother asked me if I could stop just to avoid the drama, but I said I deserve my little treats. Am I the jerk? So like OP said, I completely understand where they're coming from. They don't want their kid to see somebody eating ice cream every single night and get the impression that it's really like a good idea. That said, OP is their own adult, it is literally their own house, and they're trying to do what they can to get around the kids seeing at least all the time. I think at that point, if the parents, the in-laws, can't live with that at that point, then really it's kind of putting more of a spotlight on them desperately needing to get better at their whole parenting thing, more than it would ever be making OP out to be a jerk. IcerGuy0211 commented, "Not the jerk, I cannot stand parents like this. The world is not going to cater to your child. If they bend every little thing because they don't want to deal with their child asking for stuff, how is your niece ever going to learn to accept no? Kids need to learn sometimes people have things they can't have, especially adults. Keep eating your ice cream, ignore your sister." Our next story is, am I the jerk for not putting away my copy of The Handmaid's Tale? My 20, uncle and cousin, 14, are currently staying with us since their house is going through some repairs. Cousin sleeps in my room. Mom told me to put certain books away since they're inappropriate, so I put them in a small locked drawer. I didn't put The Handmaid's Tale and some of my other dystopian novels there though. Barely any space left, so I had to pick which ones to lock up. The way I figured it, she probably wouldn't be interested in them, and the book in question is full of my distracting, barely legible to anyone else annotations. I studied it for A-level English literature when I was 16 or 17, and my handwriting was atrocious back then, but she did end up getting interested in it. I came home one day to find out that she had been reading it, and my uncle had found out and was telling her she's too young. Then he turned to me and berated me, saying it was careless to leave something she's too young for out on the shelf. One of the simplest things I think as to why OP is not a jerk, in my opinion, is the simple fact that they tried to accommodate to the best of their abilities and there just wasn't space. They had to make a kind of critical choice on what to leave out. That said, and where it starts to get a little bit more controversial or kind of like particular to people, I'm generally of the mindset of being a little bit more lax with these kinds of materials. I mean, how many of us growing up, either us or even people we knew, played video games that they definitely weren't in the rating age for? How many of us managed to stay up late one night watching a movie with our parents that in no way we should have been able to watch at a young age? Honestly, I think I would feel as a parent, especially a 14-year-old, if they get a particular interest in a book like The Handmaid's Tale and they start getting engrossed in it, I think I would be on the side of actually encouraging it because I think it's so important to promote and support kids reading books. I mean, God knows my attention span is already fried from TikTok and YouTube shorts and whatnot. Like, you hear stories from teachers who say they have classes that on a movie day, the kids literally cannot sit through the movies anymore. Like, I start to think it's not the worst thing if your 14 or 15-year-old gets engrossed in a dystopian futuristic book that does have some adult themes. Rosie Crone commented, "Not the jerk, 14 is not too young. The book came out in '85. I was 13. Read it again at 16 for a high school course. Read it again in a literature class in college. Have reread it numerous times since, including before watching the Hulu show. You're good, friend. Encourage this young lady's interest in good reading every chance you get." Our next story is, am I the jerk for keeping inheritance from birth mother instead of splitting with adoptive siblings? I just found out that my birth mother, who I have never met, left me her whole estate, $180,000. I was adopted at birth by a wonderful family with 2 other adopted kids. My siblings are now saying that it isn't fair I got everything when they also deserve it being adopted as well. They want to split it 3 ways. My parents are staying neutral, which I can tell is uncomfortable. The thing is, this was my birth mother. She chose to find me and leave me this money. My siblings have their own birth families they could easily have a connection to someday. For me, this feels like my one connection to where I came from. Now, family dinners are awkward because my siblings barely talk to me. Am I being selfish keeping money that was legally left to me? OP is clearly in no way the jerk. I think this is the unfortunate reality, the ugly reality of having a windfall. People pop up like vermin trying to grab whatever stacks of cash from your stacks of cash they can possibly shake loose. Come on, it was basically our mom too. We deserve some of it. Cami Singh commented, "Not the jerk. Your siblings are entitled and irrational. It doesn't matter if they're adopted too. Your birth mom, not theirs, left you something. It's yours. The only thing you'll have from a woman who birthed you and clearly never stopped loving you. Use this for something big, an education or towards a house. Don't squander it. Let it always remind you that the woman who conceived you never forgot you and always loved you." It's Me Susie commented, "Where at all do some people get this entitlement from? The adoptive parents need to talk to the other 2 kids and set them straight that their logic doesn't make sense and that they're not entitled in any way, shape, or form to OP's inheritance." Would they share their inheritance if it was them? I bet no they wouldn't. Our next story is, am I the jerk for celebrating my birthday without my friends after they rescheduled around babysitters again? I've, 26-year-old female, been part of this friend group since college. We're close and consistently hang out and have friend game nights. The kicker? I'm the only person in the group without kids. Everyone else is busy raising toddlers and infants. While it seems fair that they've been putting on more and more adults-only events, fancy dinners, wine tasting and events, Great, right? No. The adults-only events are literally during times that I'm working my restaurant shifts, evening and weekends, because those are the times their babysitters are available. I've expressed multiple times that it would be great to have daytime events or meet during the week to do things, since my schedule is very flexible during the day. They always say, "Oh, we'll try for that next time," but it never happens. Last month was the last straw. My birthday fell on a Sunday, and I asked them if we could do a celebration during the day since I was working that night, and they agreed. Then, the day before my celebration, the group chat exploded that they were actually now changing it to evening because Sarah's babysitter canceled but can do 7 p.m. instead. I was so done at that point. I made my own plans for my birthday with my coworkers who were able to show up and posted pictures on social media having the best time at brunch and escaping an escape room. Now, my original friend group is hurt that I didn't even tell them we changed the plans. They're now calling me petty and that I should understand that finding childcare is hard, but I'm over being the only one who's expected to accommodate everyone else 100% of the time. But I think my job counts as an adult responsibility too, and I shouldn't have to miss my own birthday for their babysitter problems. Am I the jerk here? It would be one thing if OP had any chance to course correct within a reasonable amount of time. But the fact that they said, "Yeah, we can do that," and then last second they change it around and say, "Actually no, you know what, it's gonna be evening now," and telling you, the person whose birthday they're supposed to celebrate, that they are changing the plans. Maleficent Web 6034 commented, "Not the jerk. If Sarah's babysitter canceled, that means Sarah has to miss the event. It doesn't mean your birthday gets rescheduled around Sarah's needs. However, your friends have made it clear that their bond of motherhood is a priority and you aren't in that club. So I would suggest making friends with normal people who don't get knocked up young instead." OP responded commenting, "Exactly, that's what I kept thinking. If Sarah can't make it, then Sarah can't make it. Why does everyone else have to revolve around one person's childcare issues?" This next story is, am I the jerk for telling my parents that they neglected me because of my brother's illness? So I'm a 16-year-old girl and I have an older brother who's 20 and he moved out about 2 months ago. My brother has misophonia. I don't know everything about the illness and I don't want to say anything wrong, but it's basically being triggered by certain sounds. He was diagnosed at 7 when I was 4 and he has a very strong version of the illness, I think. Me and my brother used to get along okay, but it got worse after that. Funnily enough, all of his triggers were connected to me. My laughing, my walking, my eating, everything seemed to trigger him. I remember my father yelling at me when I was like 6 because I laughed while my brother was also in the car. I wasn't allowed to eat dinner with them, my parents would eat with him, and when he was finished, he could leave and then I could get my food. I didn't even really understand what was going on because I was a little kid. I was often alone because I couldn't go anywhere with them and would trigger him, and when we did something together it didn't feel the same because even alone I was always scared to do something wrong and get yelled at. Even in school, I would barely talk or laugh. I was never very close with my family and spent most of my time alone in my room or with friends outside. Since my brother moved out, my parents are trying to get me to connect with them more. This morning, my mom asked me if I wanted to go see a movie with her, and I was already in a bad mood because I was stressed due to exams. So I sorta just snapped and told her I didn't want to and to stop trying to fix things with me because it was ruined and that she couldn't fix the neglect they put me through simply by watching a movie with me. She then yelled back at me and told me to stop being jealous of my brother and that they were doing the best they could and that they didn't want to neglect me and just try to take care of my brother. I just left after that, and both of my parents have been ignoring me all day and now I feel kinda bad. I still really love them. Am I the jerk? Edit, update. So I don't know how many people are still going to see this considering it's probably not shown on the main page anymore, but I want to provide at least a little update here. Many people suggested I show this post in comments to my parents, and I wasn't sure if it was the right thing to do considering the whole situation in general, but I did do it a few hours ago and it didn't go too well. They went on a rant about how people on the internet don't know anything about me and our family, which is true, obviously, but still, I don't know what that adds to the situation considering they know everything I wrote in my post is true, and that I should stop believing what people tell me on the internet because all they want is drama and they don't care about me. Well, didn't go too well. My parents have been and are still yelling at each other in the living room right now, and I'm just sitting here. I wouldn't be surprised if they take my phone away, but oh well, who cares at this point? I'm thinking about maybe going to my teacher and telling her because I don't really know what to do right now. Yeah, there's some seriously unresolved stuff on multiple fronts here, and I think some pretty clear-cut denial from the parents. I mean, just to put it simply, I just flat out feel bad for OP. You know, it's crazy that their brother finally moves out and the parents go, "All right, time to finally build a relationship, let's have movie night." Katja1236 commented, "Not the jerk, and I suspect your brother was the jealous one, not you. Too convenient that all his triggers came from the sibling with whom he was competing for parental attention, and they didn't do their best. They gave in to him and neglected you because it was easiest. Honestly, I don't think there's much of a chance they'll actually recognize how badly they hurt you unless they get therapy and really listen and do the work. If they won't do that, just gray rock them and get out ASAP. And when they wonder why they aren't invited to your wedding and haven't met their grandkids, tell them it's their own fault for letting your brother push you out of the family without ever standing up for you." Our next story is, am I the jerk for calling out my kid's teacher for talking down to me? I was at my daughter's teacher conference. I was still wearing my work clothes. I'm an electrician, and uniform is somewhat dirty. They start talking to me in a baby voice using very simple words and speaking slowly. "Your daughter needs help with her math homework. Do you know what fractions are?" I have accrued 60 college credits and I read all the time. But I guess since I fit the blue-collar mold, I must be stupid. I kept my cool though and asked her if she always assumed the level of intelligence of parents based on what clothes we wear. She started getting defensive, like she was only trying to be helpful and didn't mean anything by it. I told her that in the future, I would rather she talk to me like a normal person. Now my wife thinks that I made the teacher look bad for no reason, and I should have let it go because she meant well. I feel like she was pretty disrespectful though. Am I the jerk? All I know is if I were in OP's shoes, I would be pretty upset because I don't want to sit there and hear, "Do you know what fractions are?" You know what, Teach? Yeah, I do, and my patience is currently fractioning as we speak. Organic Tradition 94 commented, "I had a similar thing happen to me from a salesperson. I came straight from work as a stagehand. I'd recently bought an apartment with my then wife, and we were looking to fill it with furniture. Our budget was around $10,000 US. I approached this guy and he would not give the time of day. I asked him the price of a sofa and he told me there's a price sticker on it. My wife then spoke to him wearing office attire and he couldn't be more friendly. She asked the price of the same sofa and he talked her through all the details. He asked if he should place an order, and before she could answer, I stepped in and said, heck no. He then realized we were together and quickly tried to turn on the charm to me. I wasn't about to let this judgmental jerk get a commission from us. I explained my reasoning to my wife, but she wanted to just get it done. Only time I have staunchly gone against her wishes. We ended up going to another branch and getting much better service. You're not the jerk, bigots need to be called out. Our next story is, am I the jerk for saying I don't want to be my friend's fat bridesmaid aesthetic? I, 29-year-old female, have a friend, 30-year-old female, who's getting married in October. We've been close since college, but lately it feels like I'm just aesthetic filler to her. She picked her bridal party dresses without asking for input, and they're tight, like Skims meets sausage casing tight. I'm a size 16, the other girls are size 2 to 6. I asked if there were other options and she laughed and said, no. I love how it looks with all different body types, like it's giving real women. Excuse me? I asked her straight up if she just wanted me to be there as some token diversity of size and she got quiet, then hit me with the, you're so confident though, that's why I wanted you in it, which is honestly code for, you make me look better. I told her I'm not comfortable being somebody's walking body positivity prop and maybe she should get one of her influencer friends instead. She cried, told me I was ruining her vision, and now the group chat is weirdly quiet. My boyfriend thinks that I should just suck it up for the day, but I'm so tired of pretending crap doesn't bother me when it clearly does. Am I the jerk for saying that I don't want to be a part of her Pinterest fantasy? I just can't fault OP when the wardrobe choice is out of your hands, and OP almost ultimately feels like it's something humiliating for them to wear. Doubly so if there's truth to them being a bridesmaid just because they want like diversity in body shapes. I don't like green peas commented, not the jerk. When you said you didn't want to be a bridesmaid, she said, "You're ruining my vision." She didn't say, "You're one of my best friends and I want you by my side when I get married," or "Our friendship is really special and it won't be the same without you." She pretty much confirmed that you're a bridesmaid because of how you look. There's no reason you should feel bad about dropping out. She can go hire someone to take your place who fits her vision. Our next story is, am I the jerk for leaving my sister-in-law's house after she invited me over to not be alone, but just wanted free childcare? I, 25-year-old female, had to put my cat down unexpectedly, and it has completely shattered me. He wasn't just a pet, he was my best friend, my emotional support, my companion through everything. I've had him since I was a teenager, and I loved him more than I can explain. Making the decision to let him go was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I held him in my arms at the vet while he passed, and I genuinely don't know how I made it home after. I cried all night. I didn't sleep, I didn't eat. I took the next day off work because I couldn't even function. I was in absolute pieces. That day, my sister-in-law called and said she didn't want me to be alone and invited me to come over. I was hesitant, but also grateful that someone seemed to care. I thought I would be able to just sit quietly, cry a little, maybe talk about him if I needed to, basically just exist around someone so I wasn't drowning by myself. But the moment I got there, it was clear that not being alone actually meant helping her with her kids. We immediately left to pick them up from school. Her son didn't want to get off the jungle gym, and when I just stood there, sister-in-law got annoyed that I wasn't physically removing him, even though I could barely stand upright without crying. Back at her place, she told her son that I would help him with homework while she made dinner. I tried to gently bring my cat up once or twice. I honestly just needed to talk about him, and each time she cut me off with, "You're just having a moment," or said we didn't need to dwell. I felt completely dismissed. Then her son needed help in the bathroom and she asked me to do it. I don't know if she realized, but I'd been crying on and off the entire time I was there. I hadn't been able to think straight since yesterday. I wasn't even sure why I agreed to come, and now I was being asked to play babysitter while grieving the most traumatic loss I've ever experienced. At that point, I just stood up and left. I didn't say much. I didn't trust myself not to sob or scream. I just got in my car and went home. Later, she texted me saying I upset her kids by storming out and that she was trying to help me take my mind off things. But I don't think she ever actually saw how much pain I was in. This story definitely started off very supportive and like, "Oh, that's very nice. You want to invite them over so they're not grieving alone? That's great." And then with each development, it just continued to roll further and further downhill, and you just go, oh no. And then it gets to the point where they say, "You're just having a moment," when they try to talk about the cat. I just need a moment to gather my things and get the heck out of here. Captain Bivitfic commented, "Not the jerk. She is a real jerk and an entitled one at that. Losing my service dog a year ago was incredibly traumatic for many reasons. I had a caregiver at the time who knew how much Odin meant to me, and when I called to tell her that it happened, she immediately said that she was coming over to be with me during this time and that she would even spend the night. Truthfully, I didn't even want the company. I told her that, but she insisted. Cut to some drama that happened later in the week, and she tells me that she's claiming the hours she spent with me as hours that she worked to get out of coming in a day that I actually needed her. That was a huge slap in the face to me because, like you, I genuinely thought she was doing this out of the kindness of her heart and whatever, but it wasn't that. Take care of yourself. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not giving my neighbors food? Hello Reddit, I'm posting on here because this is weighing heavy on me and I just want to know if I'm the jerk in this situation. Some backstory, I'm 28, male, and I love to barbecue. When I do barbecue, I usually offer some food to my neighbors, 35-year-old male and 30-year-old female. Let's call them Mike and Sophia, fake names. Here's where I feel like I might be the jerk. I was cooking last Saturday and I'd only bought enough for me, my mom, my dad, and sister. Mike came out and saw that I was cooking and made a comment in passing that he can't wait to eat some good food today, and he laughs it off. I look at him and say, "I'm sorry, Mike, but I only have enough for my parents and my sister." He gives this look of confusion and says, "So there's not enough for me and my wife?" I say, "Unfortunately not today." Mike gives me this look that says, "What the freak?" This is where the crap hits the fan, and he tells me that he had texted his wife Sophia that I was cooking and that she didn't have to make or buy dinner. I just look at Mike and tell him, "Why would you do that?" I even try to reason with him and say that if there's any left over, he's more than welcome to come take some for him and his wife. He said, "It's fine, I don't need a handout, I can afford my own food." I look at him and blurt out, "Why didn't you just do that from the beginning?" "I'm sorry I can't give you any barbecue today, but I only have enough for my parents, my sister, and me." So Reddit, I'm here to ask, am I the jerk for not being my neighbor's meal ticket? I feel like OP has to know the answer to this question. They have to know that they're not the jerk here. And I gotta be honest, I always hate hearing stories that kind of go down this road, where you do a gesture of goodwill, which is preparing some extra food and handing it out to the neighbors. You do that 2 or 3 times because it's fun, they're appreciative, it's nice, and then it kind of becomes that expectation where when you do barbecue, you're almost expected to just give food away for free. Like this weird, never really agreed to, never actually discussed expectation of, we're going to take advantage of you and the situation. Kind of like if you were the person who brought like donuts or bagels to the office or something, and then you stopped after a while and somebody got unreasonably upset because you were supposed to just keep doing that apparently. NoBasil8269 commented, "Not the jerk, your neighbors are deranged. If he doesn't need a handout, then why is he getting so worked up about it? After his entitled behavior, you shouldn't have offered him any leftovers. Going forwards, refuse to give him and his wife any food, and if they ask why, say it's due to the husband's rude entitled behavior." Wandering Aimlessly 9 commented, "Because the OP trained them that way. OP grills, OP gives them food. OP grills, OP gives them food. Repeat over and over again. When OP grills, they get a free meal. He sees OP grilling and free meal to come. But this time, OP says no. He's broken the cycle, and the person is confused." Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to top up on electricity because my roommate likes to keep her lights on? I live at a student accommodation, and every month we get an electricity token, about 80 kilowatt hours, and there's 3 of us in a unit. For the past 4 months, this girl has consistently kept her lights on, and I mean for 24 hours. Which I don't get because you have windows, and how do you even sleep at night? Psychopath. So naturally, the electricity never lasts. It usually runs out a week before the month ends, and we had to contribute an even amount, which wasn't ideal for me because I only have one parent supporting me financially, and they know that. To combat this power thing, my other roommate suggested we turn off the water heater and heat our bath using a bucket that you plug in and stuff, which sucked for me because I'm paying a lot of money for this room. It's currently winter and I go to school every day, they don't, and still she keeps her lights on. My last straw was when she left for a whole week and she left her lights on. I can't even say that she forgot at that point because it's clearly a habit, and guess what? We ran out. I ignored all of her messages for me to contribute and lied about not having any money when I do, cause why do you care all of a sudden? It's irresponsible and bad for the environment, plus my country has a power issue. I could have bought myself cheesecake with all that money I wasted. We can't all give the same amount when you are wasting the most. So am I the jerk? You know, maybe lying about it in that way isn't like the most ethical or best way to handle it, but ultimately at the core of the issue, I don't blame OP when somebody is being so wasteful with a very finite amount of energy. It kind of makes me glad that I went to the lengths of putting mostly smart switches in my place, so that, let's say, if somebody forgets the kitchen light is on, after like an hour or an hour and a half, it just turns off by itself. Conflict Gullible 392 commented, "Definitely not the jerk. But rather than lying about being broke, just be straight with her. We're running out because you keep your lights on constantly, so either stop doing that or pay for it yourself." Darthbane83 commented, "Unless she has an entire Christmas theme park in her room, the lights aren't why they run out of tokens. Even without LEDs, taking a long hot shower a day will consume more electricity than leaving the lights on 24/7. Our next story is, am I the jerk for making my pregnant sister lose time after she told me to pretend I didn't know her? For context, my sister is 28 and I'm 19 and she's 7 months pregnant. I'm a college student and I live pretty close to her and her boyfriend, so sometimes when I go home for the weekend and she's going as well, she gives me a ride. Yesterday, I called her to see if she could give me a ride home since she was going as well. And she told me yes, but she had to go to IKEA first and therefore we were going to eat out, but she wouldn't be paying for my meal. Fair enough, I accepted and she picked me up. Problem surges when I got pretty badly sunburned just a couple days before, so I only brought some baggy sweatpants, a t-shirt, and my flip-flops because wearing jeans and socks hurt my skin. Right as we were about to leave to IKEA today, she told me to go change because she didn't want me to go like this as it was embarrassing and not the clothes to go out on. I explained that I didn't have any other clothes and these ones were the most comfortable ones since I was sunburned. So she told me to pretend not to know her and her boyfriend because it was embarrassing that her brother was dressed like that. In response, I stayed far back from them, making them look back for me every couple minutes, and making my sister very angry, which made me feel bad since she is pregnant. So, am I the jerk? OP's not the jerk here. I don't really see anything wrong with the wardrobe OP picked out. I don't think IKEA has any kind of dress code beyond the obvious like no shirt, no shoes kind of thing. You know, as long as you aren't catching a public indecency charge. Like people go to IKEA for the meatballs, but not for your meatballs if you catch what I'm saying. Needs more cookies commented, not the jerk, she's being ridiculous. The paparazzi are not trailing her to IKEA to judge her for her companion's fashion choices, and it's super easy to lose someone at an IKEA because that winding path around the store is broken up into lots of small rooms and 90-degree turns. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my sister to just wear the stupid dress for her husband and to stop overthinking it? My sister Becky and some friends were out shopping. She vented about being in a roommate phase with her husband and said the last thing she did to work on it was to ask him to send her an example of a dress that he found sexy, with the intention of her buying it and wearing it for him on a date night. She showed us the dress to mixed reactions. She obviously hated the dress. It was a very club wear type of dress, tight and short with thin straps and a plunging neckline, a slit up the thigh, etc. Like if you googled generic sexy dress, I bet it would come up. Her friends jumped in about how it was gross and sexist and says a lot about who he is and what he values. A lot of, this is how he expects you to dress and you're just a trophy for him type of stuff. I thought this was a huge overreaction. Like, it's definitely not her style, but I didn't think it was that bad, so I told her to just get the dress and stop overthinking it. They tore into me saying I'm a pick-me and how he should love her how she is instead of trying to get her to change into something she's not. I said I don't think that's what he's trying to do, but they told me that I don't get it. I am so worried that me saying to just get the dress was the wrong thing to do. I do have trouble knowing when people want support and encouragement versus solutions. Did I misread the situation and this was a support not solutions type of thing? OP's not the jerk here, and I'm gonna be honest, I think OP's right. Maybe that's just me being a man, but their sister specifically went out and bought that dress not because it's a dress they liked or wanted to be accepted for or approved of lovingly, but solely on the discretion of asking their husband what dress they found attractive with the intention of wearing that. So for them to turn around and start tearing apart the dress and what it means, and for them tearing apart OP for saying what they did and saying he should love her how she is instead of trying to get her to change into something she's not, like they've all completely lost the plot. Was this about trying to just put on a dress that he found sexy, or was this about like challenging his beliefs that you should be something you're not? Someone you don't know 70 commented, not the jerk. Your sister can wear whatever she wants, but she set herself up for failure with this stupid idea of asking her husband about his fantasy with the intention of fulfilling it. The whole point of a fantasy is that it's fantastical. Claiming that he's expecting her to dress like that is mischaracterizing the situation. She didn't ask him, how do you want me to dress? She told him, send me an example of a dress that you find sexy. He never asked her to dress like that. She took the challenge upon herself. If she's not up to it, then she shouldn't do it, but that's not his fault or yours. That's hers for not accepting her husband's fantasies for what they are. As you put it, if you googled generic sexy dress, I bet it would come up. That should be an indication to your sister and her friends that her husband is not a freak. He's just a typical guy. If she doesn't want to wear a generic sexy dress, then she shouldn't have asked him to send her a picture of a generic sexy dress for her to wear. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my husband I don't want his mom to stay with us for 2 months in our one-bedroom apartment? My 31-year-old female, husband 30-year-old male and I have been married for a few months. His father passed away recently and understandably his mother is grieving. My husband and his sister have been trying to support her. The issue is this: my mother-in-law may come stay with us for 2 months in our one-bedroom apartment. Our apartment is small. I work from home full-time, we have a cat, and we only have one bathroom. My husband works in office 3 days a week. His sister and her husband are also expecting their in-laws to visit during that time, so they can't host the mother-in-law, and the mother-in-law apparently doesn't feel comfortable around them anyway, so she wants to stay with us, even though we have less space and privacy. I initially asked for a 6-month buffer before having family stay over long-term, just so we could adjust to marriage and living together. That boundary was acknowledged verbally, but now it's being brushed aside because of family duty. I said I would be okay with a 3-week visit, but anything longer feels really overwhelming, especially in such a small space. I've also suggested an Airbnb, which I could probably help pay for, but my husband and his sister don't see that as reasonable. Now I feel like I only have 3 options. Say yes and live in stress for 2 months, move to a 2-bedroom, which we can't afford right now, or leave. My husband says I'm catastrophizing and making this harder than it is, but I feel like I'm being emotionally blackmailed. That if I don't agree, I'm cruel, ungrateful, or selfish. I don't hate my mother-in-law, however, she did fat shame me the day after my wedding and expects me to help with domestic duties without asking my husband to lift a finger. I mostly just value having boundaries and privacy, especially during a vulnerable time in our marriage. I've tried to compromise, but feel completely cornered. Am I the jerk for standing firm on not wanting a 2-month stay in our one-bedroom apartment, even after a death in the family? I don't think OP's the jerk. I think OP clearly wants to help and be supportive, but I just don't think it's realistic. It's a one-bedroom apartment. Could you do it? Sure, but I feel like there's other very workable options that can be figured out, like the Airbnb, that don't involve making your at-home life for a 1/6 of the year completely miserable. OK Scarcity 545 commented, not the jerk. You know they're gonna kick you out of your bedroom, right? Mommy won't be able to sleep on the couch because of whatever fake owie she has. By the time she leaves, if she ever leaves, your entire apartment will be rearranged to suit her, your cat will be gone, and you'll be out of a job because she'll get you fired while you're trying to work from home. Stand up for yourself now and limit her visit to a week at most. 2 months and you can kiss your marriage goodbye. Unruly Neurons commented, honestly at this point I wouldn't even allow her to stay one night. She can handle an Airbnb if she wants to come on a short visit. We're talking about a culture where children are often expected to house their older or widowed parents. And that's fine, but OP did not sign on for it. Her husband has lied multiple times about their plans and expectations, and since her mother-in-law has no plans for a living space beyond this proposed visit, there's no way he's expecting her to suddenly become independent and leave. Our next story is, would I be the jerk if I told my guests that it was awful having them stay over? My fiance, 25-year-old male, and I, 24-year-old female from Germany, had guests from the US for the last 10 days. Let's call them Tim, 27-year-old male, and Tara, 24-year-old female. I met Tim online during the pandemic. We bonded over talking about everything that was going on, our different experiences growing up, etc. We also talked about him visiting Germany since he'd been wanting to come back. 5 years later, I'm with my fiance, and he has a girlfriend of 3 years. We're still talking regularly. My fiance and I just moved into a bigger place and decided to ask if they want to come visit. Everyone was stoked and we helped them book the flights, work out an itinerary for their stay that even includes a weekend in Paris, and try to make our apartment as comfortable as possible for their stay. They want to sleep in different beds, which makes everything complicated, but we manage. At this point, I've never talked to Tara and try to reach out. She misses our first call, but it works out a week before they fly in, and I try to get to know her. We pick them up on Thursday. The airport is an hour from where we live, and it's 6 a.m. Everyone is tired. We get to our place, show them around, show them their beds made and ready with towels and some goodies. They don't thank us. I think it's because they had a long flight and let them unpack. We go out grocery shopping and try to get everything they want. There's a discussion about how awful it is that there are no public bathrooms available everywhere because Tim has to pee 10 minutes after we leave the apartment. It's awkward, conversation is slow, I think it's jet lag. We leave for Paris Friday morning. I organized the trip and didn't get any input from them. Paris is okay, they don't talk a lot, don't give their opinion. I'm at a loss. We get back? No thanks. We spend Monday separately and wanted to spend the evening together. They arrive 45 minutes late without telling us. The next day, we drive them an hour to my parents so they can pick up the car that my parents loaned them for a couple of days. They leave. We get one message a day. Saturday is our engagement party. They don't bring a gift or a card. They don't even congratulate us. Sunday night, Tim and Tara asked if we'll be driving them back to the airport. I asked them if it would be okay if they took a bus back. They're okay with it, I have to book it for them. We bring them to the bus stop Tuesday morning, say goodbye, and still not one thanks or criticism or anything. Not thanking is one thing, the other is budget. They told me that they're on a strict budget. I tried to keep the cost at a minimal. They proceeded to buy souvenirs like model guns for hundreds of euros. I just feel very used. Would I be the jerk if I said something? Is there something I'm not seeing? I try to get their thoughts and opinions every step of the way and they didn't say anything. Normally, everyone loves the way we host. Personally, I've always been a fan of open communication, but maybe this is normal and can be put under cultural differences? I don't want to be rude. So, OP's not the jerk, but I think OP would be better off kind of reshifting their energy into just moving past this friendship. You know, you kind of know these people now. They don't really seem like that great of people to be around. Maybe if the text chat seems good, maybe just keep it there. Like at this point, if OP does say something and kind of rocks the boat, like, is there really something to have gained from that? Kind of like Pooch on Mom commented, "You wouldn't be the jerk, but what are you trying to gain out of this? You made friends, found out friends are rude when you met them in person, now you just gradually cut contact with them, or continue to chat occasionally but never plan a visit in person. Unless these are people you need to interact with for other reasons, there is no point." And personally, I wouldn't feel it's worth giving feedback about manners like this unless folks are like my kids, siblings, someone younger I'm guiding. Of course, if the rudeness was hurtful and they were mean, then stand up to it. But something like this, cut your losses and move on. Our next story is, am I the jerk for walking my friend's under-exercised dog more than they usually do, which led to vet costs and now drama? So this one's been sitting heavy on me and I'd love to get an outside perspective. My friends, let's call them J and P, adopted a 2-year-old rescue dog, I'll call him B, about 3 months ago. Before that, B had lived in a basement with little to no stimulation. He's a super sweet dog, but noticeably under-exercised. They walk him about 1 to 2 kilometers per day and he's alone for 6 to 8 hours daily. He often seems restless, whiny, overly excited about other dogs, classic signs of understimulation, in my opinion. I took care of B for a weekend while they were away. During that time, I gave him more attention and longer walks. One day, we covered around 10 kilometers total, spread out throughout the day. He was noticeably calmer, more relaxed, and just generally seemed happier. I honestly felt like he needed that. When I returned him, he was fine. The next day, they messaged me saying he had hip pain and that they had to call a vet. I felt awful, but also a bit confused because he hadn't shown any signs of discomfort while with me, and I did pace things gently. The vet said that there was nothing structurally wrong, maybe a strain or muscle soreness, and gave them painkillers. We later had a conversation where I calmly expressed that I would step back from walking or looking after B to avoid overstepping again and to respect their way of handling things, even though I still strongly feel that the dog needs more stimulation. The talk started off calm, but escalated when Jay suddenly accused me of not wanting to pay the vet bill. That threw me off because at that point, the bill hadn't even come up in our conversation. It genuinely hadn't been discussed yet, not because I was avoiding it, but because we hadn't gotten there. I would have gladly offered to help if I had been addressed normally. After that, I sent a message offering to pay part of the bill, asking for the receipt, and reiterating that the friendship matters to me. P later replied saying emotions were high, Jay's under a lot of stress, and that Jay needs time. I get that life is hard and I don't want to be insensitive, but I still feel a bit hurt and misunderstood. I never meant to overstep. I really cared about B and just wanted to give him what I thought he was missing. So, am I the jerk for walking their dog significantly more than they do, trying to do the right thing, and now stepping back after being accused of not wanting to pay, even though we hadn't gotten to that part of the conversation yet? So, I definitely think OP had good intentions, but I do think what OP felt the dog should have and what the owners were looking for, it really wasn't OP's place unless this dog was genuinely being neglected. It may or may not be that 1 to 2 kilometers a day isn't enough for the dog, but it's not like they aren't getting some daily exercise. OP kind of going rogue and doing what they thought was in the best interest of the dog ultimately left the dog in pain and having vet bills. And as somebody who's a staunch dog lover, I can't really fault the owners for being very passionate and fired up about their response. So I would say OP is the jerk. Kichu commented, as someone in rescue and rehab, you're the jerk if you know the dog's current exercise routine and deliberately exceeded it by such a significant amount because you wanted to make some kind of point that you think you know better than their owners. I never meant to overstep. Girl, be so for real, your actions were very deliberately an overstep. Just because a dog is tired doesn't mean that they're enriched or happy, and you ultimately caused them an injury. You could have easily induced some training, sniffy games, or foraging opportunities if you felt that they needed more. Instead, you took a dog used to 1 to 2 kilometers of walks max and took them on 10 kilometers in 1 day. That's super irresponsible, and I'm glad you will not be providing care for this poor dog in the future. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.